Hey guys, this is Todd Smith, the most amazing movie reviewer ever, as I would appoint myself. Anyways, so you guys have been responding very well when it comes to my reviews, and I wanted to do a little feedback with you because you've all been wondering what are my kind of like favorite films when it comes to found footage. So the first ones I'm going to start talking about was one that was actually pretty recent, a little while ago. It was called Chronicle. And that was actually a really cool one because it was something completely different. Because everyone's usually, when they do the found footage things, it's always like creatures of like different kind of like lizards and stuff like that, or aliens or ghosts or stuff like that. This one was completely different. It was actually about a group of kids who at a party they discover this hole in the ground. Oh, spoiler alert for anyone who may be watching. I forgot to say that. So they find a hole in the ground, and then there's this crystal in there, and so it's like a nerdy guy, and then his cool cousin, and then the really popular kid who's in school. So they touch this thing, and then all of a sudden, like, they barely get out with their lives. They don't remember, and then they have superpowers. Pretty much what I mean by superpowers is they have telekinesis. So it's just mainly stuff with the brain. And then they figure that they have these powers and they're going to have fun, and they start training themselves and getting more and more stronger from the time they use it. And then the nerdy guy just suddenly loses like his cool, and he's got like all the power because he uses it the most, and he ends up killing his best friend, and then his cousin ends up having to kill him to be able to save the world. So that's pretty much the entire movie, but it's about superheroes. And it was a very well done film. So that was one of my favorite things. Then the other one, as you guys know, is actually Cloverfield. That was another one that I really enjoyed. But I'm not going to go into any more about that one because I've already talked about it, and you can remember that from the first episode. So you can just click back a couple and then just figure that out from there. So the next one is actually most recent one, and it's something completely different as well, and it was called Project X. This would be the most awesome party movie ever, and it was actually based on a true story, which is even more messed up that someone actually had a party of over 1,500 people where their neighborhood got burnt down, their dad's Mercedes was in the pool, they stole ecstasy from their drug dealer, and then everyone did the E, and this was some nerdy kid in school whose friend, who's a complete idiot, who is actually brilliant when it comes to making parties. And they have the time of their lives. And by the end of it, the kid is like millions of dollars in the hole, and the ending is pretty unbelievable because the father is just like, hey, yeah, I realize everything that's happened, but how many people could you, like, were there? Like 100, maybe like 50, 60? And then the kid's like, more like 1,500. And then the dad just goes, like, who would react like that? Especially when you're pulling your fucking Mercedes fucking out of the pool. Like, I don't understand about that crap. So, and then my next favorite one is actually called The Troll Hunter. And this one is a Norwegian film, it's really cool, but it's a really slow moving film. What I mean by slow is, as the normal lost found footage film, they, instead of putting the camera on key moments, they just keep it dragging it on and on and on. But it does serve a purpose because you get to realize what the character is and the story that they go through. But you only actually see 4 trolls in about 2 hours. But each one gets like cooler as it goes. Like, it shows different kinds of trolls going from like small to gigantic, like taller than a mountain. And how the government hides them from the real people, and then he's got their own little elite squad, which is actually just one dude. And then these these kids from their college just decide to go and videotape this guy because there's these bears that are just being shot, they're being poached. So they're trying to find the poacher, and then they stumbled across this guy, and then all of a sudden he runs out of the woods. We're yelling troll. And they're all like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, did you just say troll? So, and then a troll actually comes, and then they get all really excited because it's actually been verified, and then they go on a trip with him. That was a really good one. And then lastly, I don't want to bore you guys anymore because I know it's probably getting close to that 5-minute mark where you're starting to lose attention. So this film was actually from Australia, and it's called The Tunnel. This is actually, so it's another group, it's a reporter who decides to investigate about homeless people living in the tunnels underground beside the subway system. So they spend their time below ground, off the actual path of the tunnels, but no one actually knows they're there because the girl wasn't able to get permits and all this stuff. So the video crew is there, but no one actually knows that they're in there. So once they're inside, they start videotaping around. There's just 4 of them, and they find the homeless people, and then they go further and further and further, and then all of a sudden the sound guy just starts hearing these weird noises, and then he went to go check where they were coming from because it kept occurring and they couldn't do their piece, and then all of a sudden he went missing. But then the really funny part, which really made me wonder the entire film, is they made a mistake. At this point, they went to the girl who was being interviewed after the fact of what happened in the film because they like a couple of them survived, and she's like listening to the actual sound of what was happening, what that guy was hearing, because no one heard it because he only heard it through the boom of the mic. And I was like, how the hell do they actually know what he's hearing when the sound bag went missing when they went off running after him and left the sound equipment behind, and then they come back and the sound equipment's gone? So how the hell do they be able to hear the sound when the sound equipment has disappeared? And they never reference later on in the film that it was actually reacquired. So that's one. So the rest of the film, I was just like waiting for this other mistakes to happen. But other than that, it was actually a good film. But like most lost found footage films, other than the shakiness, you actually never really got to see the creature. You just saw the blurriness of him being out of focus and then them just disappearing. So those are some of my favorite lost found footage films to this day, until something else comes along and takes it off. So stay tuned, guys. Remember, this is Todd Smith signing off, and we'll see you next week. Ciao.